It's officially called the March meeting of the Ponca City Board of Education to order. We'll start with the flag salute. Can you join me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us. Brett leads us in a prayer, please.
Pray with me, please. Father, we thank you for all of the blessings, and that we are excited about now that spring is here. Please be with the people of the world who are dealing with the coronavirus and the fallout that is going on with it. Help our health professionals through this event as they are inundated with more issues each and every day. We ask that you be with those who have lost a loved one as well. We hope there will be an end to this very soon, that the economy will survive in good shape and our world leaders have so many challenges ahead. Please be with our men and women of the armed forces as they serve and protect this great nation. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Brett. Be seated, please. Do the roll call, Jan.
Dr. Kincaid.
Here.
Mr. Newsom.
Here.
Mr. Riley.
Here.
Mrs. Troop.
Present.
Mrs. Zimmershed. Here.
All is present and accounted for. We'll start with the Certified Employees of the Month. That'll be Terry Vogel, the Associate Director of Elementary Curriculum and Federal Programs. You want to talk about her?
Mrs. Vogel serves as the Associate Director of Curriculum and Federal Programs. She has been nominated by elementary principals at multiple sites. Terry is constantly finding resources for teachers and students that she thinks would benefit them. Her heart is always about what is best for kids. This guides every decision she makes. She is always available to answer questions from principals, teachers, and parents. Her experience as a principal has allowed her to understand the issues principals face and provide sound solutions to problems. We appreciate all the hard work she does on a daily basis. Congratulations.
Our next presentation will be the Support Employee of the Month. We'll have two this month. We'll start with Dennis Malaska, the lead custodian at Liberty Elementary.
March 2020 Employee of the Month, Dennis Malaska, is the lead custodian at Liberty Elementary. The staff and students at Liberty all appreciate Dennis for all his hard work and kindness that he gives on a daily basis. Dennis has served with Ponca City Schools for 10 plus years and at Liberty for 7, where he continues to show his skills at keeping the school looking so clean. A note from Dorland Mears: Mr. Dennis does a wonderful job keeping the school clean and well kept. Mr. Dennis always has a smile, nice words to say, and will stop what he's doing to help me out with my projects. Mr. Dennis treats all students with such respect, always saying hello and have a great day. Lori Cox, principal at Liberty, says he is super conscientious about keeping the school clean and polished. Whenever I go to looking for him, he is always busy cleaning, organizing, making our school shine. Ms. Noggles states that if he isn't working in the hallways, keeping them nice and clean, he's down keeping the cafeteria sparkling clean. He's always so considerate, respectful to the students, making them feel appreciated. Congratulations.
Our other Employee of the Month will be Tammy Robertson. As you remember, she was the support employee last month and she was unable to attend, so we've got her here tonight. She is a Title I teacher assistant at Woodlands Elementary. So Tam's going to give another presentation.
Tammy Robertson has been selected as a Support Employee of the Month for February 2020. It would be difficult to find anyone more deserving. Mrs. Robertson has served PCPS for many years in numerous capacities. They include Title VII Assistant, Child Nutrition Secretary, Special Education Paraprofessional, and for the last several years as one of our Title I Assistants. Her primary responsibility is working with small intervention groups to help students master critical academic skills. Her schedule is tight, and it can be hard to track her down since her responsibilities take her all over the building. In addition, Tammy helps in the office, with lunch duty, and with the wild card cart and rewards behavior incentives, changes the marquee, and numerous other tasks. She prides herself in clocking in and out right on the dot every day. She can skillfully step into any setting at the school and lend a helping hand. She does all this while modeling a great attitude as described in the Wildcat Way. Thank you, Mrs. Robertson, for being a part of the Woodlands family. We are honored that you are part of the team. You make a difference. We are very proud to recognize you as the February 2020 Support Employee of the Month for Ponca City Public Schools.
Our last presentation will be the Friends of Education, and this is the Ponca City Chamber of Commerce, and I want to just give them a great big thank you. They are really big supporters of the Ponca City Public School System. So, Rich, if you'll bring your whole team up here, you'll get an award.
No better team. Woo!
The Chamber of Commerce of Ponca City has been a true friend of education to Ponca City schools for many years. Each year they welcome new teachers to the district with a luncheon and a program, which is their favorite part of the orientation. The Ponca City Chamber of Commerce also sponsors several programs that benefit the students at Ponca City schools. Each year at the beginning of the year they do a Stuff the Bus campaign. This allows the school to provide school supplies to any student throughout the year whose family may not be able to afford purchasing these supplies. They also sponsor the PI Partner Program. PI stands for Partners in Education. Each site is paired with 2 to 3 PI partners. These community businesses work side by side with each site to ensure our kids have what they need. PI partners provide money, resources, and volunteers to sites in order to level the playing field for all kids. They also make it clear to all sites that if something is needed and the PI partner cannot help, to let them know, and they will reach out to other business partners to assist. Without the Chamber's organization, these programs would not be available to our students. We are blessed to have a community that supports our district and a Chamber of Commerce who ensures these programs are in place for our students. And I'll just say we don't have a best friend of education, but you guys might be the best friends. So congratulations and thank you.
Like I said, nice job, Rich. Good job.
Seriously, couldn't make it without you guys. We appreciate your support.
If all the recipients will go out, we'll take a picture. It'll probably be in the Ponca City News. While they're doing that, if the Liberty Elementary first grade students who are going to sing to us and tell us a poem will start getting set up, we'll be ready to go.
Couldn't recognize you.
She's always been bigger. I think she lost a lot of weight.
Even then.
Gained it all back.
You can talk to her.
Good God, you kids are vicious. Oh, I just.
What? She what? She is? Oh, I thought so, yeah. She's real. All about her dog.
She's a rude.
Good, I'm glad they're facing.
You're cook?
Yeah.
That's right.
If any of you parents want a picture or take a video or whatever, feel free to come up, walk around, go anywhere you need to if you want to take a video of this. It may be a long time before they sing to us again.
Thank you for having us this evening. This is some first graders from Liberty, and we are going to be singing some spring songs and some poems for you today. They start my day every day at Liberty, and first grade they fill my bucket. They love to sing. They love to do anything I ask them to do. We always have a great time, and so we wanted to share some things with you today, and we hope you enjoy.
The sun is in my heart.
Go forward enough. Again.
And you wish and you hope and you keep the weeds down. You might find out, you might find a root growing down from the seed in the ground. If you got the sun and if you got the rain and you plant a little seed in the old back lane, and you wish and you hope when you keep the weeds down, you might find out, you might find a shoot growing out from the root, from the seed in the ground. If you got the sun and if you got the rain and you plant a little seed in the old back lane, and you wish and you hope and you keep the weeds down, you might find out, you might find a sun growing out from the shoot, from the root, from the seed in the ground. If you got the sun and if you got the rain and you plant a little seed in the old back lane, and you wish and you hope and you keep the weeds down, you might find out, you might find a flower growing out from the stem, from the shoot, from the root, from the seed in the ground. If you got the sun and if you got the rain and you plant a little seed in the old back lane, and you wish and you hope and you keep the weeds down, you might find out, you might find a seed growing out from the flower, from the stem, from the shoot, from the root, from the seed in the ground. Oh my, no more pie, no more pie. The pie's too sweet, the pie's too sweet. I want the piece of meat, I want the piece of meat. The meat's too red, the meat's too red. I want the piece of bread, I want the piece of bread. The bread's too brown, the bread's too brown. I think I'll go to town, I think I'll go to town. The town's too far, the town's too far. I think I'll take a car, I think I'll take a car. The car won't go, the car won't go. I fell and stubbed my toe, I fell and stubbed my toe. The toe gives me pain, the toe gives me pain. I think I'll take the train, I think I'll take the train. The train had a wreck, the train had a wreck. I fell and hurt my neck, I fell and hurt my neck. Oh my, no more pie, no more pie.
One last song for you tonight.
Butterfly, sweet, sweet parakeet, blowfish, jellyfish, if I play with love, take care of polar bear, see you soon, raccoon, so long, ding dong, butterfly, see you later, alligator.
Thank
That was
you.
really good.
That was awesome.
That was really good.
It was very good, Liberty Wildcats. I like all those Wildcat shirts.
I did too.
I was thinking cute. I loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Mrs. Zora, are those two twins?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had to be.
They're dressed alike,
Had the hair, same ribbon in their
Yes.
hair. I noticed the ribbon.
different color glasses. Good job.
Now, the one in the kind of light blue sweatshirt, she's just a little
Thank
blonde
you,
hair.
Mrs.
Thank you.
Zora.
Not bad. She's talking to your son right there. Lean forward.
She is a little
Very good, that one. She's young too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bye. Yep. We're high school.
We did.
All high school. All but one. All but one.
God.
It's okay. I'll pray for you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Good job, kids.
That was awesome.
They were
That
good.
was awesome.
They
I
were
was
good.
able to, this little girl had
Well, I'm sure the next part of the meeting won't be near as entertaining, and Tim, I'd hate to have to follow those kids up. But guess who's up next? You.
me.
We didn't have any comments from the public, so you're up next, Tim, and you got to follow that.
Might get us thrown at him.
It probably won't be near as entertaining
Yep.
as that was, but we'll suffer through.
Is Rhonda not here?
Gonna have to
No, she
pump it up.
thought it was April.
They were good.
They were good. Well rehearsed and got on with it.
It's you. It's all you. It's all you. Yes, sir.
We don't want it.
One of my favorite people.
It's a good idea on that police officer.
Good looking picture.
$100 a night.
They $40 an hour.
When'd you take that picture?
320 or 120.
When'd you take the picture?
That is a sketch. That's not architectural.
Oh, okay. I started to say the grass looks really good. I don't think it looks that good.
Our back grass is like trampled right now. There's too many. Or either that or be there. Yes. I'm not walking around, but I don't want to be back there either. Hey, thanks for letting me be here tonight. We're going to take a look at Woodlands data. We are going to take a look at last year's STAR data, last year's state testing data, where we are currently in STAR. We're going to look at areas where we need to improve, and we're going to look at our action plan to address those areas where we do need to improve. So we're going to start by looking at our state testing data from last year. Am I on a time? Do I have 7
You
minutes?
are. You have 7 to 10, actually.
7 to 10. All right, I like that, 7 to 10. All right, so these graphs, on the left on this one, of course, we have ELA. On the right, we have math. The green bar is our state testing from 2018. All right, the blue bar is the state proficiency rate from last year, and the yellow bar is Woodlands proficiency rate from last year. So it shows how we compared to the previous year as well as to state testing from last year. And so in third grade, you can see that in reading, we tested above the state averages in both, and we also made gains from the previous year. Pretty significant gain in reading and a little bit of a gain in math. In fourth grade, we were above the state averages and the state proficiency rates last year. We went down just a tiny bit in ELA proficiency, and we took a big jump in math proficiency in fourth grade. In fifth grade, we were above the state, but we went down just a little bit in every category, in reading, in math, and in science. And so we're talking about the things that we're doing to help bring those back up. And everything that we have right now, we'll be looking at that in just a minute, shows that we're on track to bring those back up and hopefully even beyond from where we were last year. So that's a quick summary of our state testing data from last year. Then to bring it up a little bit more current is our STAR data and we're going to take a look at reading first and then math. So this chart, each big dot represents a time that we've taken the STAR test, and the blue, there's going to be another color here in just a minute, but the blue represents the percentage of students that tested at or above the 50th percentile. Of course, kindergarten takes what's called the early literacy test. It gauges pre-reading skills, and so the last test we took, which was the last week of February, was the last STAR testing that we did. And so with that testing, 82% of our kindergartners tested at or above the 50th percentile. In first grade, we're at 79%. As other principals have pointed out from elementary schools, in December, our first graders went from taking the early literacy test to taking what at our site we call the regular STAR. And so when we went from 98% down to 69%, that's when we switched the testing that we were doing. And so it's really hard to compare the two. So we were at 79% at or above the 50th percentile at our last testing. Second grade, we're at 72%. We kind of hovered in the 70% after the first of the year. Then I have a few slides in here that show individual teachers because I want to show you a couple of things. On this third grade chart, again, the blue line and the blue dots at the top represent the 50th percentile. The orange line on the bottom represents the students that tested at the scaled score, that is the target scaled score, that is the predictor for how students will do on the state testing. And so it's significantly higher than the 50th percentile. It varies by grade, but what I wanted to show you is on that scaled score in this particular class, back in December, they had 46% of their students that were at that scaled score target, and they closed that gap to 8 percentage point gap between the students that are at the 50th percentile and students that are scoring at the scaled score. So we're pretty excited about that. Third grade overall, 88% at the 50th percentile, 69% at the target scaled score. Fourth grade, here's another example of how we've been able to bring the gap between the 50th percentile and that STAR scaled score closer. The big jump between the January and the February testing from 46 to 68%. Fourth grade overall, 83% and 66%. Fifth grade reading, 69% and 57%. School-wide, so the top blue line that represents all students kindergarten through fifth grade at the 50th percentile. Now, in our principal PLCs, for third, fourth, and fifth, we look just at the scaled score, but school-wide, it kind of gives us a good point of view for when we're looking at school-wide to see across the board how we're doing. And so school-wide in reading, 78 and 63. Then in math, I wanted to show you this because there have been three times that this class has hit 100% proficiency in first grade, and the others are pretty close. First grade across the board, 98%. Second grade, 85%. Third grade, I wanted to show you this again, another 100% there, and the scaled score at 75%. I want to show you this because this third grade class, 4 times in a row, they've hit 100% of their students at the 50th percentile, and then 76. So third grade overall, we're at 100% and 76%. Fourth grade, 88 and 56. Fifth grade, 81 and 45. Now, in our interventions, we target the students that are struggling, that are in the lowest percentile areas, but we also take a really hard look in every grade at that gap between the 50th percentile and the scaled score. Because like in fifth grade, we're at 81 and 45, and so there are a significant number of our students that, according to STAR, are on grade level, but according to the predictor for state testing, aren't there yet, aren't to proficiency yet, and so that creates some intervention groups for us right there. So school-wide in math, 90% and 57%. Okay. Any questions about the STAR data? All right. Areas for improvement, kind of broke it down in 2 areas. One was taking a look at last year's state testing and areas that were where we had less than 50% of our students at the proficiency marks. And so 4th grade ELA was a little bit beneath that. And then all areas of 5th grade ELA, math, and science. So we'll talk more about what we're doing there. And then also looking at our current star for areas of improvement, we have one 4th grade class that was like at 48%. They're right underneath that 50th percentile. And then 5th grade math. We have 3 5th grade classes, 2 of them were at 48%, and 1 of them was at 38%. And so those are areas that we definitely need to improve to be able to bring those scores on up. Areas on watch. We have a teacher in a testing grade that's on maternity leave. Left the last week of February and will not be back before testing, and in fact will still be gone during testing. And so we have a lot of support around that teacher. Of course, she is certified. She's actually taught at Woodlands in the past, and so we're happy to have her on site. But we are doing a lot of support academically and with behavior to help her be successful and those students to continue to experience success. Our action plan, what are we doing? Well, we have goals for our state testing. Our goal is 75% of our students. That's pretty aggressive. So, and then for STAR testing, for this year, our goal is for 90% of our students to be at the 50th percentile. In math, we were there at this last testing. In reading, we're at about 78% at the last testing. Building initiatives. These are things that we do in all classes all the time. We have been emphasizing higher order thinking in our classes. Not just did you get the answer right, but why did you get that answer right? Can you tell us how you got there? And also, can you predict, if we do this process, can you predict what's going to happen, and then go back and support what happened when you finish with the project? And obviously the Wildcat Way. We're emphasizing that heavily. Also, I mentioned interventions. Intervention is a huge part of what we do. Our Tier 3 interventions, any student that receives special services, that is on an IEP, their Tier 3 intervention is the time when they go to the resource room to receive those services. In addition to that, we have students that are a year or more behind that for various reasons are not on an IEP, but they still need that support. And so one of our Title I assistants, we have 2, one of our Title I assistants, the bulk of her job is working in really small groups with those students that are more than 1 year behind. Her groups vary from 1 to 4 students at a time. And so we do a lot of really intensive intervention with those students in that. I'm already at 10?
9.
9. And so there you go. We also target students that are below the 50th percentile, and like I mentioned, the students that are above the 50th percentile, but not at the scaled score. Also, supporting for the long-term sub, we've talked about that. Other strategies that we use, close reading, accelerated math. We appreciate having the Renaissance Place resources available to us, science graphs that the district PLC leaders have put together, frequent data review that affects how we teach, and of course we're trauma aware. And we've done so much training this year and discussion and watching how we deal with our students that are in trauma. So we try to put all those into place. AR reading is one of a third of our Title I goals. And so this last fall, we had 83% of our students meet their goal. Our goal is 90. That deadline is coming up quickly. Attendance. 95% of our students have less than 17 absences per year. The 95.7 at the 2019-2020, that is average daily membership, showing average number of students that are there every day. Right now we have 1 student that has exceeded those number of absences, but we've got several more that are kind of bumping there. Parental involvement is important. One of the ways we measure that is our parent survey. We didn't quite meet our goal of 55% this year. One of the main times we were collecting those surveys was at parent-teacher conferences, and the second night of parent-teacher conferences there was no internet across the district. And so we didn't quite get caught up in that next week after that from that. So we fell just a little bit short of that, and we're still evaluating those results. So thanks for letting me serve Woodlands and Ponca City Public Schools. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Quick
Good
question.
job.
Your numbers are obviously very good, but your 5th grade kind of sticks out.
Yes, it does.
How come? New teachers, too big of classes, or?
We have 3 classes. We have 69 students, and so each class has 23 students. So the classes are not excessively large. We've talked in principal PLCs. fifth grade across the district seems to be a real tough spot.
Below.
Those standards are high for the state testing. And so we're continuing to push those and look at them very carefully. And we're doing a lot of interventions, accelerated math, and those kinds of things, lots of support for our teachers and
veteran
students.
teachers in the fifth grade?
Excuse me?
You got veteran teachers?
We have 2 veteran teachers and 1 first year.
Well, first year to us.
First year to us. Yeah, she has a lot of experience. So, good question. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was good.
Good job.
Good job, Tim. Thank you.
Next, we'll have the superintendent's report with potential board discussion. She'll start with a staffing update.
Well, I'm going to, Brett, I'll go ahead and use that.
Oh.
Auditors are here.
You want to do Pam?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump. Let's change the agenda. Pam's on the phone.
Okay.
We'll talk about that report.
Great. Gives me time to get set up.
What we're going to talk about, this is a presentation from Wilson, Dotson, and Associates on the annual audit report, which Pam came up earlier last week, I guess, and gave it to the Finance Committee. But this is the official presentation for the audit.
Okay, Pam, they're ready for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
Barely.
Bring her up here
That's
close,
good level?
Brett.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, basically, you guys all have a copy of the audit report. I went over it with the Finance Committee last week. The financial information that appears in your audit is historical information that you're used to seeing. So I'll just kind of give you the highlights. As far as your financial information, everything looked great. I was really pleased when we came in to be able to use 2 of your new software that you have in your school district, the Talented for the contracts for the employees and Assembly for your board minutes. Is it Assembly or Assemble?
Assemble.
Assemble. Yeah, those are both awesome features. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. You guys, your staff is doing great. We went out and visited some of your sites to make sure that the site staff was doing what they were supposed to be doing. We did not run across any issues there. Basically, I just have good things to report. We do have a recommendation letter that you should have a copy of with just a couple of recommendations. The first one having to do with your Indian Ed program. This is the first time it's been audited. So there were just a few recommendations that were made, and then there was one slip up by one of your local banks, which Brenda has remedied that problem by making sure that it's not going to be an issue anymore. And really, there's nothing else that I can tell you. Now, one thing I do want to remind you, since you only see your audit report once a year, the one thing I do want to remind you of is on page 5, because at the very top it does say basis for adverse opinion. And I just want to remind you that all that means is, since your financial statements are prepared on the regulatory basis of accounting, it can't be compared to generally accepted accounting principles. That's all that means. It's just really in there for informational purposes only. Do you guys have anything that you would like to ask me?
I don't, do you, Don?
No, I don't have anything.
No, you did a good job last week when you covered it with us, Pam.
Oh, thank you.
And it's my understanding on the 2 issues, Chris Littlecook was fine with the one on the Indian education, and Brenda, I believe, talked to the bank about the $44,000 that was at risk just for a couple of days, and that won't happen again.
Yeah, I think she kind of ripped on one.
Well, and that wasn't on our end.
Right, it was
We
the
had
bank.
more than what was FDIC insured
Right.
in one of our banks for 2 days, and it wasn't on us.
It was the bank.
Right. And like I said, with Chris, this is the first time his program's been audited, so these were just new items that were brought to his attention that he wasn't aware of.
And I think he just hadn't kept some forms.
Yes.
Right. No, I'm good with it. We appreciate the work you do, and we appreciate the words that you say, and that thank you to Brenda and her whole staff and everybody for all the good work they do, because it would be easy to not get a good audit, but we've always, since I've been on the board, have always had a good audit.
You guys, put the procedures and the policies in place, and you're making sure your employees follow them, and that is the main difference between what you do and what other school districts do.
Need to give us a break.
Good. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Pam?
Nope, no thanks.
Okay, thanks, Pam.
Yeah,
Thanks for calling in.
Bye-bye.
you're 100% right.
So did you say on the bank thing, it wasn't?
It wasn't us, it was the
wasn't
bank.
us.
It was the
but
bank.
it's- They didn't get the money moved over, so we had
Okay.
44,000 that wasn't insured for 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it all stayed safe, and she talked about procedures that are in place. You know, we take a lot of heat from various groups for making them play by the finance rules, but there you go. That's why we have great audits, so.
Yeah, I'll put ours up against about anybody in the state from what Pam says. Item 7, the consent agenda.
No.
No, back up.
How we're going to,
Oh,
Shelley?
yeah, that's right, we'll go back to Shelley. That's right. We don't want to miss this.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a combined staffing update and talk to you a little bit about some legislative bills to address the teacher shortage. And you all hear me talk about the severe teacher shortage crises multiple times. So this is our breakdown of our certified staff who happens to be in the buildings. That's 321 teachers that we have total. This excludes the administrators, and it excludes our school nurses and our district therapists who are housed at this site. So we have 321 total. In their first year, we have 59. First year, this is with PCPS, not just 1 year experience. Second year, we have 44, so we lost a few there. But this one was kind of disturbing to me that from the second year to the third year, we went from 44 to 19. So we have 19 of our staff members who have been with us for 3 years. Now, if you'll remember, after the second year, staff are on a temporary contract for 2 years. So they may not be with us because of our choice on that third year, but that's a minute number. We have 199 teachers who have been hired a fourth time with PCPS. So that's what our staff looks like as far as the staff in the building, excluding the administrators. And we have some additional complications, and here's a couple that I'm going to talk to you about. In fiscal year 2019, we had the historic pay raise in Oklahoma with the average pay raise of $6,100. Our teachers' average increase at Ponca City was $7,700. And there's a concern after next year, fiscal year 2021, due to Oklahoma teacher retirement system requirements. Any certified teacher in Oklahoma has to be a member of OTRS. And you probably already know that a teacher's retirement is based on their 3 highest years. Our teachers that could retire now is based on their 3 highest years. So we're a little concerned how many may resign after fiscal year 2021 because they will have got in their 3 highest years after next year. And here's where we stand with our long-term career teachers to Ponca City Public Schools. We have 53 teachers who have been in Ponca City for more than 20 years. Many of those teachers have only been in Ponca City. We have 15 teachers who have been in Ponca City for 30 or more years, and we have a couple that have been in for 40 years. But what the concern is here, 25 to 40 years could walk out the door at the end of next year. Now, every time I see one of these teachers at the sites, I remind them that we still would love to keep them, and several have told me that they are going to stay additional years other than through next year, and then some are getting out after next year too. So we'll just still see how that holds out for us, but that's still a major concern for us. We also have some additional complications because the State Department of Education has issued some new administrative rules on emergency certification. So now the OSDE is saying that there is a 2-year limit on emergency certification. And if you'll remember, before this year, it was 4 years that teachers had to get the requirements for emergency certification. And that's posing a problem for us. And in fact, here's just some data on the emergency certificates from 2011 to 2020, and I've shown you this chart before. Fiscal year 19 was the year that the raise came in, and we had more emergency certificates than we did the previous year. In 2019, 2020, this data was as of June 2019. There were 818 requests for emergency. In August, that number grew to 2,300 emergency certificates, and now I don't think anybody even has that data. I can't find it, but it's well over 3,000 emergency certificates for this year. So OSSBA sent out a survey, and they got back responses from 222 schools that employ 88% of second-year emergency certified teachers. And based on the new OSDE rules, 220 of those teachers could be in jeopardy of not being renewed. And let me give you some of those statistics. We did participate in this survey. There are 1,034 teachers on their second year of emergency certification, and they don't hold certification in another area. For example, they're not teaching early. They may have an emergency certificate in early childhood, but they're certified in elementary. 44% of those 1,034 are two-year emergency certificates in early childhood and elementary education. And this information came from the State Department of Education. 777 or 75% of those two-year emergency certified teachers have yet to meet the requirements to return as a certified teacher for next year. So that's a big concern. 638 of those 777, or 82% of those, would be teachers that districts would rehire if it weren't for the two-year cap. So if you'll remember, 2 years on a temporary contract, so there's about almost 140 teachers that will not be asked to return by these 222 districts.
How do our Ponca City numbers?
I'm going to show you those. I've got a chart for you. Now, some of the barriers to certification is, these are the results, 68% are passing the subject test based on their subject area. 44% major issue is passing the professional education test. 7% is passing the general education test. The general education test is just your basic knowledge, 7th, 8th grade math, reading. So the majority are struggling with passing their subject area test or the professional test. Other issues are costs. It costs over $100 to take the subject area test. A couple of years ago, we had a teacher who speaks English as the second language who took a test 10 times. It was over $1,000 just for the proficiency test registration. Teacher workload and coursework. And here's the thing, if the emergency certification isn't extended beyond year 2, we're going to have to non-renew those emergency certifications, and we'll have to hire new emergency certified people or hire those teachers as a long-term sub. And that's the problem. We've spent 2 years with our teachers so far, and usually it's not content that they struggle with, it's management, procedures, instructional strategies, and our administrators have stepped up, partner teachers have stepped up, so they could not be renewed, and we would have to replace them likely with emergency certified teachers. As of this date, we have hired 9 teachers for next year, and we have an offer on the table. So hopefully 10 so far for next year, and that's the most we've had this early in the year. Here's where we are with our emergency certified teachers. We have a total of 39 emergency certificates. 16 of those 39 are in danger of not being recertified. That means they haven't passed the proficiency test. Elementary people have 3 proficiency tests to pass, and secondary people have 2 proficiency tests to pass. Now, Curtis and I went through the list one day last week, I believe. We think that all but 3 of those 16, well, we know all but 3 of those 16 are scheduled to take tests in March. So we could get results back in April before we rehire teachers in May. And we will renew contracts in May for our teachers. And if they have not met the qualifications for certification to moving to alternative, we will not be able to renew because they aren't certified. They won't be certified. So we have met with all of our teachers. Principals have. We're waiting on those test results to come in. We're really concerned about 3 of our teachers. Now, in that 16, we know of about 3 who are not coming back. They've made no effort to meet the requirements and pass the certification. So there are some legislative bills to help address the teacher shortage. I'll go through these quickly. There's a House bill that would allow for elementary and early childhood's alternative certification to be completed over the course of 3 years. House Bill 2803 extends the teacher minimum salary schedule from 25 years to 35 years of service with additional steps for each year of service and degree level. Currently in Ponca City, we have 31 steps on our salary schedule. So we could have to change to 35 steps based on this bill. Also, there is a House bill that gives teachers who graduate from accredited or approved teacher education programs after November 1 of this year a credit for 1 year of teaching when they enter the profession. So in other words, new teachers typically start on step 0 because they have 0 years experience. If they graduate after November 1 of 2020, they would come in on step 1. There's another House bill that would give service for military service, out of state or out of country teaching experience. We already do that in Ponca City. There's a House bill that creates a teacher loan repayment program. There is a House bill that increases the post-retirement earnings to $25,000 instead of $15,000 for teachers. The $30,000 cap for administrators would remain the same. So teachers can come back to us after they've retired for 60 days and earn up to $15,000. So sometimes we hire part-time retired teachers and pay them up to $15,000. This would increase that earnings cap for teachers to get some of our most experienced teachers to come back in. Some more bills. The State Board of Education would provide annual bonuses to a teacher who has completed each of the following: national board certification and is teaching full-time. They received a superior highly effective under the TLE evaluation system during the previous year. They're serving as a mentor teacher, and they have been recommended for the bonus by their superintendent and principal with approval by the school board. Here's the thing, we're in a flat budget, so I don't know where that money is going to come from. So this has just been addressed in committee. Senate Bill 1617 provides teachers certified in the area of severe and profound disabilities to be paid 7.5% above their salary schedule. Currently, it's 5% for all special education. Severe and profound would be our multiple disabilities classes, and we really struggle finding special ed teachers, particularly those that are SevPro certified. This is a good one. Senate Bill 1445 allows a teacher who retired by July 1 of 2019, so this past summer, to return to the classroom with no restrictions on earnings for up to 3 years. So previously they've had the 3 years of $15,000 cap, so we could actually rehire a retired teacher back next year and pay them full salary for 3 years. So that would get some experience back in the classroom. This bill, a Senate bill, allows a local district to request the renewal of an emergency or provisional certificate for at least 2 years, and the candidate would have to submit a portfolio of their work to the district. We would have to notify the State Board of Education, and it does not limit the number of times the school district can renew the certification. None of these have been passed into law, so these have just gone through committee, so we'll see how these hold up.
The one on the teacher loan forgiveness passed off the House floor today.
Oh, it passed, okay. Hadn't even looked at email today, so the loan forgiveness.
It's got to go to the Senate side.
Yeah. All right, so with that being said, here's the status of our administrators. And this is just not the number of years they've served with PCPS, but this is their total years experience. We have 25 administrators from the superintendent to site principals. 2 have less than 10 years of experience in Oklahoma. 12 have between 10 and 20 years. 6 have 20 plus years. 4 have 30 plus years, and we have 1 administrator who has 40 plus years. So those 25 to 40 plus will meet their 3 years of highest salary after next fiscal year. So we have admin council tomorrow, and we're really pushing to our administrators to build us a bench here for administration, because right now we've got 14 that are not in danger of leaving us. So there's a lot to be said for institutional knowledge, and a lot could walk out that door at any time. So we're really working hard to build our bench. Just something to mention, the first bill that was signed into law by Governor Stitt was House Bill 1230, which gave some transparency to the Lindsay Nicole Henry bill, which I talked to you about before. That's increased up to $31 million from 2111. So that will let us know who is actually receiving the voucher and for how much. An additional bill that superintendents are really interested in is House Bill 2905, which creates transparency for virtual charter schools. For one thing, it tightens the definition for attendance. They have to log in now 5 times to be counted as present. And public schools, brick and mortar public schools, get dinged big time on our attendance. Also, engagement. It would require a student to transfer from a resident district. Sometimes we don't even know that they've gone to Epic. And if a student returns to Ponca City Public Schools, and we had a couple return this week actually from Epic, the virtual charter has to transmit the student's records to the new school within 3 school days. So we get the records back. We have to get our records to a new district within 3 days. So those are 2 bills that educators are really watching in regard to transparency, and we're really concerned about the bills to address the teacher shortage. Any questions for me?
Nope, not for me. Thank you. Okay, let's see where we are here. Number 7, the consent agenda, which includes our agenda, the minutes from last meeting, contracts under $10,000. We just had a couple, not very many of those. Had some software for the soccer team. We did have one I want to mention, the $6,600, I call it a flyby picture from a drone of the buildings of, I think it's East, West, and the high school, isn't it, Brett? That it will show any standing, it's an infrared type picture that will show water standing after they've done roof repairs. So it could help us if there's still water there underneath the ceiling or the rooftop that they put on, that this, we thought was a very good idea to spend the money on it. Renewal of our Trackit, which is our maintenance and notification system. East Middle School has a Camp McFadden field trip. A couple fundraisers. We are paying for the great time we all had at Oklahoma State University 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, for the basketball game. That was a once in a lifetime. It was a great event for them. Have a postage meters, mail meters from Pitney Bowes. Have some mileage for some parents that may need to take a deaf student to Sulphur. And we have an open PO with Simpson Mechanical for some maintenance on some food service items. Surplus resolution, if I remember looking at that, it was primarily some older IT type equipment and some things that we don't use. Anything of importance in there that you know of, Brett? I didn't see anything that looked like we could do much with.
Motion approved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve number 7, the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second from David. Comments or questions?
I have a question. The Camp McFadden thing.
The what?
The Camp McFadden
Mhm.
thing. Is that just for the day, or are they spending the night
Just for the
there?
day.
Just for the day. Those 3
It's a
days.
field, it's a field trip.
Uh-huh. They'll
For
take
3
different
days.
groups.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Call for the vote?
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye. Motion carries. 8, action items. Consider and take action on A through L, which is a lot of the financial encumbrance reports, change orders, budget analysis. We also talked about bond funds, booster club, and raffles, and I've got a little bit of information on it. Ratification approval of payroll, something that Curtis always likes. We want to be sure and include it. Treasurer's report. Didn't have very many on the activity funds, some fundraisers. DECA had a cookie sales, track had T-shirts, concessions. High Volleyball Club had a clinic. Liberty had an assortment of events from a raffle, bingo, etc. Book Fair at Lincoln. High had some expenditures they were trying to raise money for the Great Escape and the After Prom Party. And Cheer was selling various products. Booster Clubs, the Goal Kick had a raffle. Instrumental Music had a Chili's night, and Union School had a movie night and a canned food drive. Woodlands also had a raffle. So with that said, I would look for a motion to approve item 8, all action items A through L. Got a motion from Don, second from Nancy. Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Aye. Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Motion carries. Number 2, consider and take action on receiving the annual audit report that Pam just gave us a minute ago from Wilson Dotson Associates. Look for a motion to approve that report and accept it. Motion
I'll make a motion.
motion from Judy,
Yes.
second from Don.
Yeah.
Call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Number 3, consider and take action on the following. A is an agreement with the municipal accounting system. This is the financial accounting, treasurer, activity fund, all the things that we really need.
Couldn't make it without it.
B is an agreement to switch from Intrado Interactive Service to School Messenger. We talked at length in the finance meeting about this. Dawn and I did agree that it was the right thing to do. C is amendment with Barbara Nolan, who is the page master, who will have to do some work. It's basically giving her more hours, more time to be able to implement School Messenger. D is an agreement with Stephen McDonald. That was Ron Fisher's group that was here earlier. His charges are basically based on the amount of bonds that we sell, and it's to pay his fees. And with that, I'd look for...
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve those, A through D. Motion from Don, second from David. Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
4, executive session, we need one?
Yes.
Motion to vote to convene to executive session for the following: discuss possible termination, reassignments, resignation, employment of personnel on the attached detailed report that was in our handouts, to discuss the purchase of appraisal of real property, and to discuss confidential conversation with the board's attorney concerning pending claims, litigation, and authority. I'd look for a motion to move to executive session.
I'll make a motion.
From
for
Judy,
executive
second from Nancy. Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're in executive session.
Get
back in session.
Instead of our wife. 30 years.
Recital by the board president, the minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Number 7, consider and take action on recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. Do I have a motion?
One correction on the personnel report.
Other than Curtis is not the executive.
The wrong title position, so.
Okay.
Hired.
With that exception, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to
Have a
approve.
motion from Judy and a second from Don, or David. Call for the
Who made
vote.
the motion?
I did.
Judy.
And second from Don?
David.
David.
Okay, hang on. All right. Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 8, we talked about this in executive session. It's an approval to engage the employment of Riggs, Abney, Neal, Turpin, Orbison, and Lewis attorneys to represent us in the motor vehicle lawsuit. I had requested, and I would look for a motion to approve number 8 with a cap for dollars expended.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve that with a 5,000 cap.
Okay, so number 8, the motion is to approve their employment up to a maximum at this 10 seconds in time of $5,000.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Judy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're moving on. New business.
No new business.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
So moved.
Motion from Don, second from David. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.